Foreign Language Skills, Module 10. 10.1.
Located just outside of Cairo, the Pyramids of Giza are a group of 3 ancient pyramids that were built as tombs for the pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure of the 4th dynasty. The pyramids, which date back to around 2500 BC, or 4,500 years ago, are considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and are a popular tourist attraction to this day. The most well-known pyramid is the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was built for Pharaoh Khufu, and it is the largest of the 3 pyramids. It is also the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and it is the only one of the 7 that remains largely intact. The pyramid stands at a height of 147 meters, or 481 feet. This makes it 45 meters taller than the Statue of Liberty, which stands at 92 meters. The pyramid is made up of over 2.3 million blocks of limestone and granite, with each block weighing an average of 2.5 tons. It is thought that it took around 20 years to construct the pyramid, with workers using a combination of ramps and levers to move the blocks into place. In addition to the Great Pyramid, the Pyramids of Giza also include the Pyramid of Khafre and the Pyramid of Menkaure. The Pyramid of Khafre, which was built for Pharaoh Khafre, is slightly smaller than the Great Pyramid, but it is still an impressive structure. It stands at a height of 143 meters, or 469 feet, and is made up of around 2.3 million blocks of limestone. The Pyramid of Menkaure, which was built for Pharaoh Menkaure, is the smallest of the 3 pyramids, and stands at a height of 65 meters, or 213 feet. The Pyramids of Giza are not only an impressive feat of engineering, but also a testament to the wealth and power of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs. As I mentioned earlier, they have attracted visitors from all over the world for centuries, and continue to be an extremely popular tourist destination to this day. In fact, on average, over 14 million tourists visit the pyramids each year. Finally, in 1979, the Pyramids of Giza were designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, as they are considered to be an enduring symbol of Egypt's rich cultural heritage.
Module 10. 10.2.
The pyramids in Cairo are my favorite buildings in the whole world. I knew all about them when I was very young. They have always fascinated me. They really are one of the world's wonders. People still don't know how they were built. I think they are probably the greatest architectural achievement ever. Even the tallest buildings today are easy to build. The pyramids were almost impossible to build, but they did it. 2 things fascinate me about the pyramids: their beautiful shape and their mystery. I love looking at photos of the pyramids. When I visited Egypt, their beauty blew me away. And the great thing was, I also felt their mystery. The pyramids are full of hidden secrets, history, and mysteries.
Module 10. 10.3.
The gold mask of Tutankhamun is recognized as one of the world's most famous works of art. Made of solid gold and weighing some 25 pounds, it's a masterpiece of early goldsmiths' work. Its value is priceless, but who really knows what it symbolizes? Howard Carter uncovered the mummy of Tutankhamun in the autumn of 1925, 3 years after he discovered the tomb of the pharaoh. Covering the head and shoulders of the mummy was this magnificent gold funerary mask of unrivaled beauty. Funerary masks had a long tradition in Egypt long before Tutankhamun's reign. They were first used around 2100 BC by commoners. Back then they were made of painted cartonnage. It became common for mummies of Egyptian kings from the New Kingdom to be interred with a golden death mask. However, aside from Tutankhamun's mask, only one other royal mask of solid gold is known to exist, that of Susennen I from the 21st dynasty. That's some 300 years after Tutankhamun's reign. Apparently, all other gold masks had been stolen by tomb robbers. Tutankhamun's gold mask was crafted of multiple pieces. The face is a masterful example of chasing technique, and its features seem to express a feeling of sadness despite the pharaoh's youth. The eyes are sharp and animated, fashioned out of pale quartz with pupils of black obsidian. Thick inlays of lapis lazuli outline the eyebrows and the eyes. The chin bears a long plaited ceremonial beard, which juts forward and curves up at the end. The beard was considered a divine attribute, indicating the pharaoh's godlike nature. The gold mask of Tutankhamun is framed by a nemes, a special striped headdress depicted here with inlays of blue glass. The nemes could only be worn by the pharaohs. Commoners could never wear this kind of headdress. Gold was considered the mythical flesh of the shining sun god Ra. Since the king represented the sun god in the heavens, both in life and in death, the vibrant blue and gold stripes appear to us as an azure blue sky pierced with golden sunbeams. The headdress is crowned with a vulture and a cobra, the symbols of Upper and Lower Egypt. Here, they're fashioned out of gold with inlays of glass, carnelian, and lapis lazuli. The lobes of the ears, each shaped differently, are pierced for earrings. Below the gold face of the mask is a wide collar. It's embellished with semi-precious stones and pieces of glass. Each end is topped with the head of the falcon. A falcon also symbolizes the sun god Ra, with whom the king shall now become one. The sacred hieroglyphic text on the back of the mask contains a secret spell from the Book of the Dead, protecting the head from evil spirits. One last question remains. If we saw the real Tutankhamun, would we recognize him? Well, perhaps we would. But the mask is not actually intended as a faithful portrait. It shows the king in an idealized form. The Tutankhamun depicted here is immortal and divine, his features rendered as imperishable for an eternal lifetime as the reigning sun god of the heavens.
Module 10. 10.4.
Egypt is a land of eternal mystery and wonder. It is a paradise for archaeologists hoping to unearth the latest ancient marvel. Archaeologists at an extensive excavation near the northern Egyptian city of Alexandria have just made such a discovery. Kathleen Martinez, an archaeologist at the University of Santo Domingo, has dedicated most of her life to searching for the long-lost tomb of Queen Cleopatra. The queen ruled over Egypt more than 1,000 years ago. Earlier this week, Martinez and her team stumbled upon an amazing find. They uncovered a 1,305-metre tunnel located 13 metres underground. Architectural design experts have called it an engineering miracle. Ms. Martinez was elated at the find. She told the CNN news agency about what she found besides the tunnel. She said, "The excavation revealed a huge religious centre with 3 sanctuaries, a sacred lake, more than 1,500 objects, statues, golden pieces, and a huge collection of coins portraying Alexander the Great and Queen Cleopatra." Martinez's quest to find Queen Cleopatra's tomb began in 2005. She said, "My perseverance should not be confused with obsession. I simply admire Cleopatra as a historical character." Martinez spoke of the potential importance of her team's work. She added that if the tunnel leads to Cleopatra's tomb, it will be the most important discovery of the century.
Module 10. 10.5.
More than 500 people have been stung by scorpions in Aswan, Egypt. Heavy rain forced hundreds of the 8-legged creatures into the streets and into people's homes earlier this week. Many of the people who were stung had to go to hospital. Doctors gave them anti-venom injections. The people were able to go home after having the jab. Those stung by the scorpions had symptoms including severe pain, fever, vomiting and diarrhea. The Health Ministry has put hospitals on alert just in case more people are stung. A weather expert asked farmers in the area to be careful, especially when planting crops. In addition, he asked people to be careful of snakes, which were also seen after the rain. People in Aswan are worried because the scorpions in their town are very dangerous. They are Arabian fat-tailed scorpions. Their nickname is man-killer. The Al Jazeera news agency says they are among the most dangerous scorpions in the world. The venom in their sting is very poisonous and can kill a human within an hour. However, fat-tailed scorpions live in the mountains and rarely come into contact with humans. The weather expert advised people to wear proper footwear when they went outside to avoid getting bitten. He said the scorpion numbers would go down after the rainwater dried up. Less than 1% of the world's scorpion species are deadly.
Module 10. 10.6.
The museum was very interesting. There were so many things in the museum that I would need more time to really see everything. There were clothes from the past. I don't know how people wore some of those things. They look like they would be uncomfortable. I like to wear my jeans. There were things from wars. There were bullets and cannons and even uniforms from the soldiers. I don't think that war is a good thing, but it is good to remember the past and honor the people who died for your country. There was an old fire truck at the museum. This fire truck was pulled by a horse. There were some very old photographs of the firemen putting out fires. There were rooms in the museum that were set up like an old house. There were antique irons and sewing machines. The women used to clean the clothes with a washboard. There were no modern appliances back then. I'm glad that we have electricity and modern appliances. The things that we have make life so much easier. There were mummies from Egypt at the museum. I was fascinated by those. There were artifacts from the Indians. There were arrowheads and cradles that the babies slept in. I tried my best to see everything, but it was almost impossible. The museum is a good place to learn about your past. I tried to imagine my grandparents using some of the things that were on display at the museum.
Module 10. 10.7.
5 things you should know about ancient Egypt. I'm sure you've heard about the pyramids of Giza, but did you know that they actually were massive tombs for pharaohs? Thousands of laborers worked for years to build a pyramid. The inside of the pyramids is full of mysteries. There are tunnels, chambers, and secret shafts or passageways. The most important pyramids are those of Cheops, Chephren, and Menkaure. What about mummies? Do you know what they were? When a pharaoh or a wealthy Egyptian died, the body was prepared to be preserved for as long as possible. The dead body was cleaned and covered with aromatic substances. Then it was wrapped in bandages. Later on, the body was placed in luxurious sarcophaguses. Egyptians believed in life after death. That's why next to the dead body, they would leave furniture, food, and other objects they thought might be useful in the next life. But wait, hold on a second. When did all of that take place? The Egyptian civilization flourished in the northeast region of the African continent, in the place that is now the country of Egypt. This civilization began more than 5,000 years ago and lasted about 3,000 years. How impressive! The Nile River was a key factor in the development of the Egyptian civilization. The Nile is the second largest river in the world. It is almost 7,000 kilometers long. The Egyptian civilization flourished on its riverbanks. Egypt is mostly desert, and the few fertile lands were along the river. Oh, it wasn't just the rich harvest. People also fished in the Nile. Apart from agriculture and fishing, the Nile River was also important because it was used for transportation and shipping. The ships carried people and goods throughout the empire. I'm sure you've heard about pharaohs. Do you know who they were? Pharaohs were the kings of ancient Egypt. They were thought to be gods on earth. Cleopatra was one of the most famous queens. She was also a diplomat, navy commander, linguist, and wrote books on medicine. Another famous king was Tutankhamun. His tomb was discovered almost intact. Did you know that King Tut became a pharaoh when he was 9 years old?
Module 10. 10.8.
Cleopatra was born in Egypt a long, long time ago, in 69 BC. Cleopatra, daughter of Pharaoh Ptolemy XII, was a part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek family that had ruled Egypt since the death of Alexander the Great. Unlike her ancestors, Cleopatra learned the Egyptian language, which made her not need an interpreter when dealing with the locals and neighboring kingdoms. In 51 BC, Ptolemy XII died, leaving the throne to his 18-year-old daughter Cleopatra and her younger brother, the 10-year-old Ptolemy XIII. The first years of their reign were difficult due to economic failures, famine, extensive floods of the Nile, and political conflicts. Not wanting to share rule, Cleopatra dropped Ptolemy's name from official documents, and her face alone appeared on coins, which went against Ptolemaic tradition of female rulers being subordinate to their male co-ruler. However, Ptolemy also proved to be a cunning politician, and soon managed to have Cleopatra exiled, leaving him in sole charge. Meanwhile, the Roman Empire was embroiled in a civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey. When Pompey fled to Alexandria, the capital of Egypt, he was murdered on the orders of Ptolemy, who was hoping to gain favor with Caesar. But when Caesar arrived in Alexandria, he was enraged at the murder of a Roman consul by a foreign subject. Hearing of Julius Caesar's displeasure with Ptolemy, Cleopatra managed to sneak into Caesar's rooms and successfully endeared herself to him. With Caesar's military strength and support, Cleopatra had her brother Ptolemy overthrown and was reinstalled as Queen of Egypt. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar fell in love. They had a child named Ptolemy XV, nicknamed Caesarion, and for a time, Cleopatra's reign brought relative stability to Egypt, bringing peace and prosperity. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated, Rome fell to civil war, and Cleopatra returned to Egypt. Captivated by her beauty and personality, Antony started a lasting love affair with Cleopatra that would produce 3 children. Octavianus, later known as Augustus, declared Mark Antony as a traitor and claimed the throne of Rome to himself. Cleopatra and Mark Antony combined armies to try to defeat Octavian in a raging sea battle at Actium, Greece, but were defeated and fled to Egypt. In Egypt, Mark Antony returned to the battlefield, hoping to recover and defeat Octavian, but soon realized that he was going to be captured, and upon hearing false news that Cleopatra had died, Antony killed himself. Cleopatra followed her lover's demise by ending her life, letting herself be bitten by an Egyptian asp. She died on August 12, 30 BC. The two were buried together as they had wished, yet the exact location of said tomb remains a mystery.
Module 10. 10.9.
Welcome to Ancient Egyptian Fashions. Learning what life was like for ancient Egyptians presents many differences, and yet also surprising similarities to how people might live today. Understanding the daily lives of regular citizens so many thousands of years ago is ultimately what connects us as human beings. Jewelry was a popular item among ancient Egyptians of all social standing. Both men and women wore earrings, rings, and bracelets. Status determined how much jewelry a person wore and what it was made of. Common folk wore pearl necklaces, simple bracelets, and leather bangles. Brightly colored earthenware and glass paste were a favorite enhancement. The jewelry of the elite was made from gold, silver, and other precious stones. Because gold never lost its shine, it was considered akin to the flesh of the gods. Wide jeweled collars were a favorite. Made with rows of beads formed into patterns of animals or flowers, the soft chiming sounds they made were thought to appease the gods. Though idealized, tomb paintings are a catalog of the changing fashions of ancient Egypt from the Old to the New Kingdom. Egyptians took appearance and cleanliness very seriously and were diligent about their fashion, hair, and jewelry, as well as their grooming habits. The fabric of ancient Egyptian clothing was almost entirely made from various grades of linen. Linen was commonly white, draped over the body, and cinched at the waist, though some garments were sewn or tailored. Wealthy men wore long tunics, loincloths, or kilts, while poor men only wore loincloths. Women wore long dresses, with differences residing in the quality of the fabric, depending on social status. Egyptians commonly went barefoot, but could also wear sandals made from papyrus fiber or leather. Cosmetics, including concoctions to prevent body odor and bad breath, were an integral part of everyday life for Egyptians. Used by both men and women, cosmetics were used as moisturizing ointments and sun protection as much as for beautification. Red ochre, a natural clay, was the most readily available cosmetic to tint lips and cheeks. Henna was used on nails and lips, and as hair coloring. It was also favored by richer women to decorate their palms and the soles of their feet. Egyptians believed kohl had magical powers, wearing it as black eyeliner to protect their eyes from the sun and to prevent eye infections from particles in the flooded Nile River. A special green kohl, made from ground malachite, was worn for ceremonies and religious rituals. Women and teenage girls wore their hair long and often braided. Wealthier women included carved combs or hairpins. The length of men's hair rarely dropped past the shoulders. They were mostly clean-shaven during the dynastic period, a trend began by the elite and soon adopted by the general populace. Queen Hatshepsut donned an artificial beard when she became pharaoh. Wigs were very popular, used for special occasions or to conceal gray hair or baldness. They were fastened in place with beeswax. The most expensive wigs were made from human hair and reserved for royalty. Other wigs were composed of linen, wool, or animal hair.
Module 10. 10.10.
Amazing Egyptians, exciting Egyptians, amazing Egyptians, exciting Egyptians, ancient inscriptions, dramatic depictions from ages before us. Now here comes the chorus to be amid the pyramids, to ride in style down the Nile, having a rare old time with a pharaoh, worshipping cats, cows, jackals, and crocodiles. He's looking at you, Cleopatra, Tutankhamun, come and take me back in time. Known as a nation for mummification, they wrote on papyrus and how they inspire us to be amid the pyramids, to ride in style down the Nile, having a rare old time with a pharaoh, worshipping cats, cows, jackals, and crocodiles. He's looking at you, Cleopatra, Tutankhamun, come and take me back in time. Who was the nicest? Osiris or Isis, Anubis or Horus? Now back to the chorus to be